Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Hey there, Tag Me In Bro Universe. This is Taryn. Happy Wednesday. We're here to recap another episode of SmackDown Live, but it's kind of been a wild week for wrestling completely outside of the squared circle. Shinsuke Nakamura got bit by a police dog at a live show, so he was unable to perform at SmackDown Live this week. Kevin Owens got pulled on stage at a Shania Twain concert, where I believe both parts were equally excited about the other being there. So it's been kind of wild, guys. But we've got another episode of SmackDown to get to. We hope you're excited. We know that we're excited. And if you don't want to miss out on one single second of Tag Me In Bro content, go on Twitter right now and follow us at Tag Me In Bro. Now, I hope everyone is excited for the show because it is about to go down in a big way. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we are talking wrestling, folks. So the first thing that we will do is cover our SmackDown speed through, where we'll give you our analysis of the most important bits of last night's show. After that, we'll go to our Hi to the People segment, where we want to talk to you guys about your thoughts on whatever the topic is that week. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about Dean Ambrose, because we've been missing him a lot. After that, we'll move on to our main event, where we'll talk about the issue that is on everyone's mind this week, and then we will close out the show with our stars of the night. This week, the question on everybody's mind that we're going to be talking about in our main event is about the New Day. What is next for the New Day? What do they have left to accomplish on SmackDown Live? Where should they be going? But we'll talk about that much more later. And now let's get to our SmackDown speed through.
Woo!
Here are the only 5 things you need to know about SmackDown Live this week. Number 5, Andrade Cien Almas confirmed alive. We heard from him this week. Number 4, Becky beat Sonya Deville. Number 3, Ellsworth and Paige have a promo. Number 2, SaNity versus the Usos plus Jeff Hardy in a 6-man tag match. And number 1, the Team Hell No reunion. Okay, so number 5, we really put Andrade on here, not because he had a backstage segment, and he's not on here because the segment was particularly groundbreaking or exciting or enlightening for Andrade, but to prove that he was there, and yet somehow he was not the singles competitor chosen to replace Shinsuke Nakamura in the U.S. title match with Jeff Hardy. I just think that's a mistake. Tommy, I know, feels the same way. We had talked about it when we found out that Shinsuke would not be at SmackDown Live this week because he was not medically cleared after this bizarre dog bite incident. Why not Andrade? Why did it have to be Eric Young? Why did it have to be one member of a tag team and not a legitimate singles competitor? Whatever. But this was just to prove that he was there, so the option was theirs, and we did not think it was a fabulous one. But moving forward from that, number 4, we had Becky versus Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose kind of interrupted Becky during a backstage segment where they ended up being like, like, oh, you've won 1 or 2 matches, whatever, which is like such a sad thing to have to like sometimes come to terms with. Like it hurts real deep. And then Sonya was like, I'll fight you. Becky was like, I see 4 arms in front of me. Who's am I going to break? So Sonya and Becky have a match. Becky was really dominant in the match, which I thought was fabulous and wonderful and good to see. She won with the disarmor. It's a little, not weird, but it feels a little weird to be so far into the women's revolution where it feels like we now just kind of have female jobbers, which is what I believe like the 2 remaining members of Absolution have kind of become. Obviously, it seems by the way that Corey puts her over, and by the way they've kind of branded Mandy Rose, that they might have more plans in store for her. But to see Sonya Deville there, what's the point? she's not Ronda Rousey, so she's not that legitimate competitor with a fighting background, and they don't really let her win. So even if she does have that background, she doesn't really get to show it off at all, except for in her entrance when she does all those like speed punches, and you're like, well, it's kind of fine, but also I kind of don't care because you've like literally never won a match. So that part of it feels a little strange. It feels weird that we have them there just to lose, but also, yay, Becky won. So we'll see how that continues. They continue to put Becky on television, which I love, but I want it to go somewhere. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, we'll see this momentum build towards something. Number 3, so James Ellsworth came on stage, like he was in the middle of the ring, and he was chatting shit as per, and Paige's music hit. She walked down the aisle, was kind of like, what you doing up there, mate? And they had like their little like skerfuffle, where he was like, I love women and the women love me. And Paige was like, get off my stage. But something that is very exciting about it, which is the reason that it's on here, is that it set up a match for next week between James Ellsworth and Asuka. So Paige announced that Asuka and Carmella will have their contractually obligated rematch at Extreme Rules, which feels right. That feels appropriate. It would feel a little strange for Asuka to have that match again on television. And it's really exciting that we're going to do an intergender match. Like, that makes me really, really happy. If Ellsworth is only there so that Asuka can prove that she can kick the shit out of a dude, like, awesome. Let's do it. I'm here for it. I'm ready to see it. And I hope that, like, very, very swiftly after that, Ellsworth makes his exit from SmackDown Live. But it was really good. I always think Paige is good on the mic because I think she has a very naturalistic quality about her. But sometimes she does stumble through the written lines, the scripted promos. And so it wasn't a perfect promo, but I think the information that it set up was excellent. And I always think that her tone and her like connectivity is so right for being in front of people. So well done, Paige. Number 2, SaNity versus the Usos plus Jeff Hardy. Okay, so as we mentioned before, Jeff Hardy was supposed to defend his U.S. title last night against Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura could not perform, so they replaced Nakamura with Eric Young of SaNity. That match was literally nothing to write home about. It was weirdly bad. It was the kind of fighting debut of Jeff Hardy's Willow character that got brought back. So he had the face paint, he had the contacts, and it was just kind of sloppy. Like, Jeff went for the twist of fate really, really early and like didn't hit it, but then Eric Young fell, and then he had to like try to cover it. The whole thing was a little botchamania-y. It did not look great, but what saved it was that the Usos came in, beat up SaNity on the rest of SaNity on the outside of the ring, looked great, and then Paige came out and in her infinite wisdom restarted the match. It was a DQ for the title, so it's now a non-title match, a 6-man tag match of the 3 members of SaNity against Jeff Hardy and the Uso brothers. And that match was great. That match was really, really good. It was a really nice segment of SmackDown. And I really do thank the Usos, like, for all of it, because Jeff through to the end, like, Jeff was good. Jeff Hardy, obviously, like, a legend and always great, but even he went for a swanton bomb at the end, and that was, like, the big finish for him to get the pin. But, like, his shirt didn't come off all the way, so he ended up doing it, like, with half of his, like, gray, like, t-shirt still on, which was, like, a little weird. It kind of fit. It fit that it was, like, no fear, like, extreme, just go through it, but it was also just kind of like, what's going on there, buddy? So Jeff seemed a little off his game, but I really think the Usos brought that match to a new level. I really think we can credit them with that, and I think that the tag match actually ended up being, like, almost the best highlight of SmackDown Live. Which brings us to the highlight of SmackDown Live, the Team Hell No reunion. Okay, so to understand this, we have to go to, like, the opening segment and backtrack a little bit. So we started this week with Miz TV. The Miz's guests were the current SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions, the Bludgeon Brothers. He brought them out. They didn't say much. He was like, are you auditioning to be the new Miztourage? Blah, blah. Daniel Bryan came out, and the match was set that it would be Daniel Bryan versus Luke Harper. Could have been fun, like, great. Harper is an excellent competitor. It's always great to see him in singles competition, and obviously, we love Daniel Bryan. What could go wrong? So their match became the main event of SmackDown Live, and about halfway through that match, we get the big BAM! And the flames all hit, and it's Kane. And we have Kane. Why, you wonder? Because there's going to be a Team Hell No reunion. So Kane, comes into the ring, holds out his arms to, embrace Daniel Bryan. We see Daniel Bryan a little fearful, a little skeptical, very cautious, and then they go into a big old bear hug, really sweet. And it ends with Paige coming out and announcing that at Extreme Rules, there will be a tag team match between Team Hell No and the Bludgeon Brothers for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. So we ended this week with some really, honestly, promising and exciting matches for Extreme Rules, which is great. I know this every 6 weeks thing, as well as the dual branded thing, has made pay-per-views a little questionable, just in the sense that it's very how are we building stories? Who are we going to see? What are we going to see? But I think the matches that we have set up this week from SmackDown Live are doing their part to make it a really exciting show that we've got coming up. And that concludes our SmackDown Live speed through. We thought the episode was fine. There were obviously some things that they had planned that didn't work out. We missed Shinsuke. I didn't love that they just pulled Eric Young to be in the title match, especially to kind of have this weird DQ situation happen. But the Team Hell No reunion was fantastic. I'm super, super excited for the Asuka versus Ellsworth match next week. And everything they kind of gave us this week in terms of rebuilding a little bit of story and a little bit of information gave me hope for the next coming weeks that they're going to be really, really good. But let us know your thoughts on social media. And speaking of social media, it is time to say hi to the people. This week on Hi to the People, we want to know your thoughts on whether Dean Ambrose should return to Raw or SmackDown Live. Right before he was injured, Dean Ambrose was on Raw and kind of in the midst of that Shield reunion with his Shield brothers. That has obviously been scrapped for the time being, as Seth Rollins is currently a title holder and Roman Reigns is in this weird half feud with Brock Lesnar and half feud with whoever wants to fight Brock Lesnar. So that's questionable. Oh, it's Bobby Lashley. That's who it is. I could not remember because Bobby Lashley has literally no personality. But we could see him return to Raw, or we could see him return to SmackDown, where he was the WWE Heavyweight Champion, and where his most prominent feud in there was with AJ Styles, who is still currently the champion. The longest championship reign in 5 years, they announced on the show, which is super, super cool. But yeah, so we're wondering where the Lunatic Fringe should make his return, because it is kind of constantly on the horizon, and we've been missing him a little bit. So we'll be running a Twitter poll for the next 72 hours and discussing the results here on the show next week. So let us know exactly what you think. You can vote on Twitter by tweeting at us using the hashtag #HotTag. You can email us at tagmeandbro@gmail.com if you want. If you share your thoughts, if you comment, you may have your thoughts read out on the show. Every week we read out some of our favorite responses. The only week where we don't is this week because our poll got shadow banned. So thank you to everyone who somehow was able to vote. We talked to Twitter. It should be fine. But we had a lot fewer responses, many fewer responses, sorry, the grammar there threw me. We had many fewer responses than we had anticipated, but coming from our topic from last week, which was, are you excited to see James Ellsworth back in the WWE by Carmella's side? The answer was still, with our minuscule votes, still no, very much so no. So 58% of the vote went to no, boo, no chin, as opposed to yay, no chin. 42% of you said yes. I think I was also on the no train until this Asuka match was announced for this week. Again, I'm still very skeptical. I hope he leaves fairly immediately. It is really weird that James Ellsworth is so involved in the women's division, mostly because it should be a division that can carry itself, and I think there is an added level of, potentially unconscious sexism there that's just let the women fight. That's what they're there for. You should rely on your women characters, not male joke characters to make them look strong. But I'm looking at it in the positive perspective, which is that Asuka's going to fight a man, and that is awesome, and I think she's going to kick his ass. So, yeah, so those were the results of last week's topic. We want to know your thoughts on Dean Ambrose for next week. So let us know, tweet at us, comment, check back on, because we retweet the poll every couple of, not every couple days because it's only up there for 72 hours, but, probably on the first and third day. So check us out, and now it is time for our main event. today on our main event, we are going to be talking about what is next for the New Day on SmackDown Live. Joining me for our main event is my co-host Tommy Rowe.
Hello. Did you like that?
Do you want to try that again?
Was that good?
That was surprising for me at best.
Yeah, I didn't. I want to keep people guessing.
Keep them on their toes.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
Just like maybe the New Day?
Maybe.
And with that, circle back.
Wow,
We will
job.
move swiftly on from that moment in Tag Me and Bro history. Okay, so the reason we wanted to talk about the New Day is because at least this week on SmackDown Live, like their segment was such that they were backstage putting pancakes into a blender of milk.
Yeah.
Then they made Xavier Woods drink this cake shake, the pancake malt. I don't know. It was gross. But they made him drink it. You could tell he regretted it. And then he went on to have pretty much a squash match with Rusev to keep Rusev strong as the number one contender to AJ Styles' WWE Heavyweight Championship. This led us, however, to be like, what are the New Day doing? Like, they feel like they're in a stage of semi-retirement at this point on SmackDown Live. And so we wanted to talk about what might be next for them. Because obviously, when you have a team that's that young and vibrant and successful, you can't feel like they don't have more to do.
Yeah.
But they've already broken the record for the longest reigning tag team of all time. So, what is next?
A very good question indeed. I think don't get me wrong. I love the lightness. I'm going to say levity they bring to SmackDown Live. I think it's a good thing for the kids. I think it works sometimes. Like, Big E is hilarious to me. The other two are not as funny. Like, I get their appeal as a group, but to me, they're sort of exactly like my hello at the beginning of this segment, which is like, they're Mrs. Doubtfire. They are like a guy in a dress who's like trying to make you laugh. And as time goes on, we're getting this, it's the law of diminishing returns. Like, you can't switch from cereal to pancakes and then to milkshakes and then think that we're going to still be on board for it. Like, at a certain point, they need to put up or shut up. And they've already put up, so it's time to shut up. I think for the New Day, they need to go their separate ways. And I don't know if we're in agreement on that, but I do think they, in the past maybe month or so, they have been not performing as the New Day, but they have been performing as so-and-so member of the New Day. I think, though, that the New Day should be over. I don't know what merch sales would say about it, but I think it's time for them to break up and go their separate ways. We know they all have huge upsides as singles competitors, but yeah, I think it's time for a nice, really well done year-long implosion that ends in like a triple threat at Mania 36 for the WWE Championship or something like that. I think we can do it in such a way that it's much more compelling than the Shield, because they can talk about like growing up in the business together because they didn't really have anything else. There's not any single huge personality, so you'll feel so conflicted rooting for each of them. So I think a messy breakup would be super cool to see from the New Day.
I love to see that. And I think you're so right that seeing like a long implosion from them would be like such a compelling WrestleMania main event. Because I think that with groups like The Shield, like they were presented with leaders. Like Eric Young is the leader of SaNity.
Yeah.
Like Seth Rollins was when they debuted, like the architect of The Shield. But they really all do feel like equals in the New Day.
Definitely.
So I totally agree with you. I think that implosion would be so interesting to watch. Having referenced a little bit like SaNity and The Shield, I do think that an implosion is the right way to, like, demolish the New Day, if that is your plan. I also think that they could serve a really interesting purpose as a faction, as a group that competes as the New Day, but is made up of singles competitors.
Interesting. Like a new Nation of Domination kind of.
Yeah. Because A, it allows them to potentially bring in or take under their wing new superstars. Like, I would, down the line, obviously, but, like, I'd love to see the New Day with, like, Ember Moon. I'd love to see the New Day with, like, what would have been at the time, like, a face Alexa Bliss, or even a face Carmella. Like, I loved seeing Carmella and Big E during the mixed match tournament.
Yeah.
So I think, like, the ability to bring in additional superstars and give them reasons to compete under storylines under the New Day banner would really give them, like, cool opportunities. Like, we saw on Monday Night Raw that when Seth Rollins wasn't doing so hot and when he got attacked, they brought in Roman Reigns, even though Roman is in a completely different storyline, a completely different championship, and a very valid feud. They were like, this is his Shield brother, like, here to save him, and there is a part of that canon and that story arc that always allows for Roman to pop into Seth's business when they're both baby faces.
Yeah.
And I think that you could totally say the same thing about, like, Kofi and Big E, about Kofi or Big E with Xavier Woods, like, because they are brothers, because we've seen them go through this for so long and always as baby faces. I think there is something that again would really add to negating that as in an implosion and getting to see that flipped on its head. But that also could be really cool to see in a friendly split where it's not really a split, but where, it's like I said, where they choose to support Big E going on for the WWE Heavyweight Championship, where like kind of how we've seen them always support Kofi during the Rumble, like to have those moments where they are allowed to be separate, because I think we completely agree on the idea that they need to start competing as singles competitors. And we've seen, like, Big E and NXT had a really cool gimmick as a singles competitor. The count to 5 thing was very, very cool. Kofi had what I would say was, like, not much success, quote unquote, as a singles competitor, but just because I think he was very much so in the mid card, whereas obviously as a tag team member he's at the top. But we got to see his athleticism and his promise, and we got to see that he is charismatic. He is a major athlete. He's been the athlete of the New Day for the whole time they've been together, I feel. And we know that Xavier Woods is strong on the mic, and his in-ring skills have only progressed as time has gone on.
Definitely.
And I think with the rise of the stables that we are, or not stables, but kind of stables, factions that we are seeing in the WWE, like SaNity, I think marks a really big shift in a nice way for what tag teams could be. They've opened the gates to things like the Undisputed Era down in NXT, having multiple singles competitors who operate under one fraternity, essentially, is not unheard of. And I think that we traditionally see that with heels. And I think that seeing it with a face stable would be an interesting option.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think, though, that, like, going forward, if they stay in a faction and kind of go the way of, like, singles competitors who, like, high five when they're, like, going up and down the ramp, and they still wear their New Day stuff, but they compete normally. That's kind of how they're operating now. I mean, we haven't seen them in a tag team match in quite a while. And it has been really interesting to see them kind of in each other's corners, because we always get that because there's only 2 members of the team fighting at one time. We don't see them in a lot of 6-man tags, which is probably better, because I think 6-man tags are always weird, because, like, what are you actually fighting for? Because you can't win anything as a 6-man. But I think that it would be very interesting to see them in a faction scenario, but long term, I think even if they do start, like, fighting as a faction of singles competitors, you do need to have some sort of breakup, because I think you leave it on the table if you don't pull the trigger. I think putting it off, though, I think there is a way that like what you're saying and what I'm saying can definitely happen together, but I think in the best world, both of them happen.
Yes, I agree. A long arc.
Yes, exactly.
A 3-year Mania arc.
Exactly. So maybe not Mania 35, but Mania 36 we'll see a triple threat for the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship. Who knows where they'll end up next year after the Superstar shakeup? I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see, because seeing those callbacks every so often when Roman Reigns comes to help Seth Rollins, or like we had this week, we just called back to Team Hell No. I think if you do have messy breakups, you can preclude having those nice little like come back together moments without kind of retracing your steps. But going forward, I think a little bit of both would definitely be the coolest way to do it.
I agree. And I think what it shows beyond anything else is that there's still a lot for the New Day to accomplish, both on SmackDown Live and in the WWE. It's just about how the creative team chooses to point their cannon.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I think that has been a wonderful discussion. And that concludes our main event. So we can't wait to hear any thoughts that you guys have. Tweet at us. Let us know what you think about the New Day, what they should be doing. And now we're going to finish off the show the way that we do every week with our Stars of the Night. For our 3 Stars of the Night, we are starting off third with this Team Hell No Reunion, and we have Kane. Kane's entrance was super welcome. His little hug bit with Daniel Bryan was phenomenal, and to cap it all off with an Extreme Rules title match against the Bludgeon Brothers was fabulous, and we have Kane to thank for it all. So Kane is our 3rd star of SmackDown Live this week. Number 2, we have Paige. I think that the general manager role can be so difficult sometimes because you really are the voice of production and the voice of creative trying to set things up and take advantage of things. So it's a little hard because sometimes when we congratulate her, we're literally just congratulating the creative team for like voicing their plan and their thoughts. But I really think Paige has been wearing this role incredibly well, and she is so young that to be so professional, to come off so naturally, and to come off with this air of like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to make this match. I'm not going to let this moment get away, is so, so wonderful. And she can really stand toe-to-toe with any single superstar in that ring and come off as a figure of authority and someone to be respected. And so rock on Paige. Paige is our number 2 this week. And number 1 is a tie between both Uso brothers. It is the Usos for coming in and honestly being the breath of fresh air that changed a match that we started as being super excited about, then an injury happened, then we were maybe excited, but it was really not that good, and then it was great. The 6-man tag match was awesome. It was so, so good, and we really do have the Usos to thank for allowing for that pace, for that kind of in-ring charisma that they always bring to the scenario, and for clearing the way for Jeff Hardy to get that Swanton bomb and to pick up that pinfall. So congratulations, Usos. You deserve it. Well, that'll do it for us here at Tag Me In Bro. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Tag Me In Bro and subscribe to the podcast. We are on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean. We're on basically every listening platform. So please listen to the show. We do recaps of Raw and SmackDown every single week. We do fan predictions. We do pay-per-view reviews. Let us know what's going on. And as always, we want to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions, your concerns. So get involved. We want to make the wrestling community bigger and better. Let us know what you liked, what you hated, what you could give a fuck about. I've been Taryn O'Connor. A giant thanks to my co-host Tommy Rowe. Thank you guys for listening to Tag Me In Bro. We will see you next week for another episode of SmackDown Live. Bye, universe!